We spent the entire second half of last season talking about PSG as the best footballing side in Europe, the best footballing side in the world. Donnarumma was in goal, making big saves. And yeah, maybe he didn't add much to the team in terms of that distribution, but he clearly didn't take enough away from them that they weren't still the best footballing team in the world.
We've got some big-name players, potentially, I say potentially, Witty's probably hoping for a few of them to make their debuts in his fantasy team this weekend. We've got Alexander Isak. Will he start for Liverpool? Gianluigi Donnarumma moving very late on to Manchester City. Randall Kolo Muani is in the Premier League as well, now playing for Spurs on a season-long loan from PSG. Nicholas Jackson, he did eventually move over to Bayern Munich, and then Aston Villa signing a pair, Jadon Sancho and Harvey, Elliott, both of those players coming in on loan. Let's start with Alexander Isak. Liverpool are up against Burnley this weekend. Not played a lot in the Premier League. We saw him, a few minutes in the international break for Sweden. What's the feeling for you in terms of Arne Slot? Do you think he throws him straight in or he comes on as a sub?
Well, it's so interesting because you would think, in theory, you spend that amount of money on a player, he goes straight in the team, and you need him. You buy a player for that much money because you need him. You talk about Nick Voltemade and all the money that they spent on him. Newcastle have got to throw him in the lineup straight away. Liverpool don't really need to, and he hasn't really built up to the season. We saw him not really be used at all for Sweden over the international window, so maybe not, but I don't know. I think you spend that amount of money on the player. You want to see what it all looks like. You want to see what Ekitike, Isak, and Salah as a forward line looks together. I think that'll eventually be the move, is Ekitike move out to that wide left channel. It'll be Isak up front, but there'll be a lot of interchange. He didn't play very much. He's still building up to full fitness, but come on, let's see him. Let's see him start this game and get his Liverpool career going.
Something we talked about with Ian on one of the shows was how he will deal with that mental pressure. From the outside and the people I know at Newcastle, he's a confident character. We saw him in training for the first time last week. That he will have to deal with that pressure that comes from Liverpool. There was obviously plenty of criticism from what happened and the way that the deal went down at Newcastle. Do you think that outside pressure might weigh on him?
I don't know, because yes, in theory, you're going to play for Liverpool Football Club, giants that expect to win the Premier League, that expect to win the Champions League. He has an incredible record to live up to of having scored 27 goals last season, but I don't know if it's necessarily pressure right now, because this is a team that is succeeding very well, that is going to get him chances. He's playing alongside Mo Salah. He's playing in a team that works very well. Yes, there is some integration to happen, but I don't think he's one of these strikers that is necessarily service dependent. He can go and make the game himself, and I think he is also incredibly intelligent to go and combine with the other players in the team to help create chances as well. So I do think that Alexander Isak is in a very good position here. I really don't see too many scenarios where he's not off the mark, scoring goals, and lots of them very quickly at Liverpool. So I think he's, if anything, gotten what he wants. He's stepping into a football environment with a very good coach that I think is going to work for him. So I don't really see a ton of pressure beyond the price tag and needing to deliver, but I think he's more than capable of delivering.
A lot of people said a couple of good loan moves for Aston Villa, bringing in Harvey Elliott and Jadon Sancho as well. And we were talking, weren't we, yesterday on the show about a disappointing start to the season for Villa and Unai Emery, desperately really needing to change how they've been playing. Do these two go straight into the lineup, and do they change the way that Aston Villa have been playing at the start of this season?
Let's also talk about the fact that Villa, in their last match, basically played with two new wingers, Danya Malen on one side, Kusam on the other. This is a team that has brought in a lot of attacking talent. Harvey Elliott, I think, has a real ceiling to hit. A lot of the Liverpool fans felt that Harvey Elliott was going to be a top-level player in the team, and I think he very well can be. I think you're seeing a little bit of a trickle-down from Liverpool, from Manchester City, even from Arsenal players that started very well there, that have moved down the pyramid, are going to work their way back up. I think Elliott has a real chance to be that kind of player, but I think, more importantly, what they bring, I think Villa is always going to be fine. I think 3 games, 0 goals, I think is an aberrant start. I think it's a club that needed a mood lift. I think the biggest thing that they had last season was not necessarily that their starters or their bench players were of the quality or not of the quality. They just had a lot of them. This is a level of depth and I think a level of talent that they've needed. I'm of the opinion that Jadon Sancho, there is a tremendous player there somewhere. We saw what Unai Emery did last season for Marcus Rashford when he arrived. He arrived a player that was moribund, that was struggling for goals, that was struggling for confidence and that positive feeling around the game. And maybe Jadon Sancho can find that as well at Villa. But you look at this kind of group of talent here, I see a good team. I don't see relegation fodder. I don't see struggling in the bottom half of the table. I think eventually they'll get it right. I think they'll probably get towards 10th or maybe even 9th. And I think this is a very good team. But I think the additions just add that competition and add that depth that they had. And of course, they have European football.
Yeah, I think Harvey Elliott particularly is a really good loan signing for them. And we've seen how loan signings of improvement last season with Rashford particularly. Let's move it on to Gianluigi Donnarumma. As we said, coming in right at the end of the window to Manchester City. The big game in the Premier League this weekend is the Manchester derby on Sunday. City are at home against Manchester United. I mean, James Trafford, if he gets pulled out and it's Donnarumma who comes, he's probably going to feel a bit hard done by, but he hasn't performed particularly well. I think the question, and Pep talked about this, didn't he, is do Manchester City change the way that they play to accommodate Donnarumma? Because he's quite a different style of goalkeeper, isn't he?
I also think he has to adjust to the Manchester rain, revealing some of his bald spots on the top of his head. That was a tough look for him in training. But to your point, here's the thing that I don't understand. Is that, yes, Donnarumma in some ways was a victim of Luis Enrique, maybe wanting something else out of his goalkeeper. And this is Pep Guardiola talking about Donnarumma, saying, I always try to adapt to the quality of the players and will not demand to Gigi to do something like he is uncomfortable doing. We're talking about the best players I've ever seen in the distribution in short and long I've ever seen with Ederson. So we didn't take Gigi to do what Ederson has done. Gigi has another quality. And so I think, yes, on the one hand, maybe this was a change that Guardiola wanted to make and that Luis Enrique wanted to make, bringing in Chevalier. But also, we have to talk about there was a contractual situation. It was not always a guarantee that PSG were going to make this change. And here's what I don't understand. We spent the entire second half of last season talking about PSG as the best footballing side in Europe, the best footballing side in the world. Donnarumma was in goal, making big saves. And yeah, maybe he didn't add much to the team in terms of that distribution, but he clearly didn't take enough away from them that they weren't still the best footballing team in the world. Yes, the goalkeeper is now playing a big role in the modern game in terms of distribution, in terms of style of play. But let's not pretend like you can't have a good style of play with Donnarumma in goal, because we just saw PSG do it. We just saw PSG win the Champions League with him in goal. So yes, it will look slightly different. I don't expect them to look like Sean Dyche's Burnley because Donnarumma is in goal. This is still an incredible player who's good enough with his feet to help keep the team ticking, and it'll be dependent on the defenders to make that build-out work.
Such a competitive position now at City, just stockpiling these great goalkeepers.